Hello everyone. Yesterday, in yesterday's class, we have discussed about applications of satellites. Okay, and so we have seen different applications and how that can be used. Fine. So that we have seen. And in today's class, and today will be our last class. And with this class, we will be completing the syllabus. The whole syllabus will be completed. So here in today's class, we will discuss about Kepler's three laws and Earth orbit trajectory. So if we complete these two topics, then it is done. Okay. So now, uh, usually our what like basically, if we see means these two are very small topics. Okay, where we have to learn about the definition and its meaning. You need to know. And next about trajectories, okay, how it is from launching to keeping in satellite, keeping in earth, sorry, in the orbits, how it is done, that also we will see. So first we'll discuss with the topic Kepler's law. Okay, so this Kepler's law is about planetary motion. Fine, and we can say that this is the laws of planetary motion. So Kepler's laws of planetary motion. So the first law is the path of the planets about the sun is elliptical in shape, with the center of the sun being located at one focus. Okay, so or else we can call this as the law of ellipses. This is the first law. Second law is an imaginary line drawn from the center of the sun to the center of the planet will sweep out equal areas in equal intervals of time. So this is the definition of the second law, and also this law can be called as the law of equal areas. The third law is the ratio of the squares of the periods of any two planets is equal to the ratio of the cubes of their average distances from the sun. So this is third law, and also this third law can be called as the law of harmonies. Okay, so now we will see or we understand these three different laws one by one. First law, Kepler's first law. So sometimes this Kepler's first law can be called as the law of ellipses. That means it will tell us the movement of the satellites in the orbit. Okay, so how it is moving? The orbital movement is how it is taking place. So basically, it will be in the form of ellipse. If you consider the sun, okay, if you consider the sun as center point, and around that sun your planet is moving, and it is following the path of ellipse, then it comes under first law, that is Kepler's first law. So that is the reason we call this as the law of ellipses. Okay, for an example, you can see here one diagram is given in this presentation. So here some two tacks are there, one and two tacks are there, which are attached to the cardboard, and using a string they are connected, and both end which is passing through these two tacks are attached to the pencil, and it is dragged at one side, and it is forming a triangular shape. And if you hold this and draw a circle around the tacks, it will form a special circle that is called as ellipse. Okay, that is called as ellipse, and like this your orbitals or your planets also will move around the sun as a center. And these 2 points, tack 1 and tack 2, are called as foci or foci, foci. Okay, so they are called known as foci. So that means the orbital movement will be in the form of ellipse here. Okay. So now I will explain this once again. Here an ellipse can be easily constructed using a pencil, two tacks, a string, a sheet of paper and piece of cardboard is used here. So now what we have to do here? We have to tack the sheet of paper to the cardboard using two tacks, then tie the string into a loop and wrap the loop around the two tacks. Okay, then take your pencil and pull the strings until the pencil and two tacks make a triangle. You see the diagram here. Then you start or you begin to trace out the path with pencil, keeping the string wrapped tightly around the tacks. So now hold the string tightly around the tacks and start or begin the tracing a path, and resulting the shape, whatever the shape you are getting, that will be an ellipse. Okay, and here it is a special curve. The ellipse is a special curve. Here what is happening here? The sum of the distances from every point on the curve to two other points is constant. Okay, it will not change. So here two other points are nothing but our tacks. Point number 1, point number 2. So they are called as foci or foci, as I said before. So what is happening here? The sum of the distances from every point on the curve to two other points is constant. For example, one point is here, okay, and the distance between the point to the tack 1 plus point to the tack 2. So that will be constant. It will not change. You take any place on the curve, you take any point on the curve, this will remain constant. So sum of the distance between any point on the curve to the two different points will remain constant. Okay. So this is finally what we want to say is the planets which is orbiting or which is moving in the orbit around the sun, it will be in the form of ellipse. It is not in the form of circle. That's what we wanted to say. So this is the first law of Kepler, or Kepler's first law, or else we can call this as law of an ellipse. So next we'll jump into second law, the law of equal areas. So we know that every planet will move around its the what we say, like the center point, like sun is there, around sun our earth is moving. So Mars is moving. So like this, and Jupiter is moving. These are moving around the sun. Okay, right? So now each and every planet will complete a circle in particular path. So now what will happen whenever these planets are moving around the sun in a particular path? Okay, it is creating certain area as it moves from one point to the another point. Let us say for particular days of like 1 month, 31 days you take. So initially in first day the planet is in other position. After 31 days it has traveled some distance, so it is making a curve there, right? So the area is sweeping out, right? And here we are referring the center point as sun, so it is creating an area. So now after each interval of time, these areas will remain same. Okay, for an example I will show you the diagram so that you can understand easily. So let us say initially here assume that a planet is there. The small one is called as a planet, okay, which is just moving around the sun. So this is the center point or sun. So these are the imaginary lines drawn from the sun to any planet. Okay, from sun to any planet. For example, you take this point initially the planet is here. Okay, So after some 30 days or 31 days, it has moved from this place to this place. So now it is sweeping out area. Okay, so you can draw the imaginary area lines. So area, you can draw imaginary area. So it is the area. Triangle is there. You can see that. Okay, this is the area. So it has got certain area. So after that, from second point to third point, again after 31 days, it will move. Okay, and now it is also forming another area. Okay, so if you consider the area of these two places, then it will be same or it will be equal. So this is the reason we call this law as the law of equal areas. Okay, so the area created or swept out by the movement of the planet will remain equal after each interval of time. So that is the second law of Kepler or Kepler's second law. Otherwise, we can call that as the law of equal areas. You take any area. For example, you take here. This is the small triangle is there. Okay, where the base is more here compared to sides. Base is more. So you take opposite triangle. Here, what's here? The sides are bigger. The base is small. Okay. So now, if you take the calculation and do the area, whatever is here, it will be equal to this area. Okay. Why? Because here the base is more, here base is small, which is compensated in sides. So this is the second law of Kepler, that is called as the law of equal areas. So now we will jump into third law, that is law of harmonies. Okay, so we can call third law of Kepler or Kepler's third law as the law of harmonies. Okay, so here we are comparing the orbital period and radius of the orbit of a planet. So you are comparing both. The one is orbital period, how much time it is taking to cover the orbit, and second thing is the radius of the orbit. We are comparing these two things and making a law here. So Kepler's third law is what? The law of harmonies, which will be comparing the orbital period and radius of the orbit of a planet. So now here, for an example, I am taking two planets. One is Earth and one is Mars. Okay, Earth and Mars. So two planets are there. Okay, so now the orbital period for these two planets is different. Okay, or the orbital periods for these two planets are different. We can see here the Earth orbital period is how much? That is 3.156 into 10 to the power 7 seconds. Okay, and Mars is 5.93 into 10 to the power of 7 s. So now these are the periods and the orbital distance. Okay, the average distance in meters, we can say that Earth orbital distance is 1.4957 into 10 to the power of 11 meters, and Mars is 2.278 into 10 to the power of 11. Okay, this is the distance, orbital average distance, that is radius, orbital radius. Okay, so now the ratio of square of the period to the cube of radius, it will remain constant for different planets. Okay, if I take these two data and put them in ratio, okay, so in numerator the period ratio, that is squared period, and in denominator the radius, the cube of radius. If you take this, that will remain same. That is, let us say that's like a 3.156 into 10 to the power of 7 whole square divided by 1.4957 into 10 to the power of 11 to the power 3, that is cube, equals to 2.977 into 10 to the power of minus 19. So now we can see these numbers here. For Earth also this is 2.977 into 10 to the power of minus 19, and for Mars also 2.975 into 10 to the power of minus 19, almost same. Okay. So here what we want to say is the ratio of the square of the period to the cube of the radius for different planets will be same. So this is the law of harmonies or Kepler's third law. Okay. So now here we can describe the motion characteristics of a single planet here. Okay. So now here we are comparing the motion characteristics of different planets in this particular law, that is third law. So the comparison being made is that the ratio of the squares of the periods to the cubes of their average distances from the sun is the same for every one of the planets. That's it. Okay. So finally, the ratio of squares of the what? The ratio of squares of the time period to the cube of the radius from the sun, that is orbit actually. So for the orbit radius, it will remain same for all the planets. It will not change. So this says the third law of Kepler, that is Kepler's third law, or else we can call that as the law of harmonies. If you want to check for other planets, for that also we have got numbers here. Mercury is there, that is period is 0.241 year and distance is 0.39. Okay, finally this is 0.98. Venus for 1.011 and Earth is 1, Mars is 1.01, Jupiter is 0.9 and Saturn is for 1, Uranus 1, Neptune 1, Pluto 1. Almost all the numbers are around 1 only. Okay, so it says that the planetary motion characteristics for every planet will remain same. Okay, in terms of ratio of square of the period to the cube of the radius of the orbit. And finally, it says the law of harmonies or Kepler's third law. So here, three laws are over. Okay, which uses in which can be used in the space. Okay, especially for orbits, trajectories. So this Kepler's law can be applicable. So next we will talk about Earth orbit trajectories. Earth orbit trajectory that we'll see. Sorry, the topic is typical Earth launch trajectories. Okay. So now, why we want to talk about particularly for Earth here? Okay, that is because so now the gravitational force what we have in Earth is much more stronger than the other planets. Let us say if you compare with Moon, here it will be much more stronger in the Earth. So now launching the rockets from Earth atmosphere is quite difficult and we need multi-stage rockets for that. Otherwise, you will not get any escape velocity which can be used to go out of the atmosphere. Okay, then it will become quite difficult to cross the Earth atmosphere. So that is the reason we are using the multi-stage rockets, okay, to reach orbital altitude and its velocity. So why? The gravitational potential is here much deeper and stronger in Earth atmosphere compared to other planets. So now, in this launching pattern or launching the rockets from the Earth atmosphere has got three different stages. Okay, so the trajectory will be in the form of three different stages. The first one is it has to go vertically, okay, launch vertically, then incline to some or orient in other direction, okay, then it can go into constant pitch. That means it can go into vacuum. Okay, so three different trajectories are there. So we will see them one by one. The first one is vertical segment. As I said, vertical takeoff will be there from the rocket there. Okay, so vertical segment of the trajectory we will speak first, and next we will speak about the gravity turn or transition trajectory. As I mentioned before, after taking off vertically, it has to orient in some other direction. So that is nothing but gravity turn we can say, or transition is happening there. So transition where it is happening in the trajectory. Transition trajectory is happening. And third one is about constant pitch or vacuum trajectory. So all these three I have mentioned before. So now we will see what are those one by one. So first one is the vertical segment of the trajectory. So here the length of the vertical section varies from vehicle to vehicle. Okay, so let us say like if one small rocket is taking off, for its initially the vertically it is going up. Yes or no? So now basically it's taking off vertically at that distance which is moving from the earth to certain distance. It will be varying from vehicle to vehicle. It is not same. So the modern launchers, what they have is they have short vertical segment. So the vertical movement distance will be very small now for modern launchers. Okay. For example, is the space shuttle just the modern one is. So how much is the distance? The vertical distance, takeoff distance is very small. How much? It will just clear the launch tower. It will just clear the launch tower. For an example, just I will show you one video if it is there. I will explain that. Let us say I think in this I may get it. See, as I said, multiple stages are required for the rocket to take off from here is, you can see that this is stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. So this is a tower, launching tower for the rocket actually, the red colored one, which is attaching or holding the rocket. So that is white room. So now these two things are going out. So it's making free rocket. So now you can see now. So now it is ignited and going up vertically. We can see that the vertical segment is happening here. So how much? Just it is clearing. Can you see here? It's just bending here, right? It's taking certain orientation here. Certain the angle is changing. So I will play back. You see the vertical segment. So vertically it's launching now. The vertical distance, launching distance, how much? It's just clearing the It is just clearing the tower. That means the modern days space launch vehicles are using very small vertical segment takeoff. After that, they'll go into transition trajectories. Okay, they'll go into transition trajectories. So this is called as vertical takeoff segment. So now, coming back to the point, here what is happening? We said that the modern space shuttles are just clearing the launch tower and taking the transition trajectories. Yes or no? So now, a long vertical section, what will do actually? It will reduce the stress on rocket structure. If you are the vertical segment is very big or long vertical section is there, takeoff section is there, then what it does actually, it will reduce the stress on the rocket structure. Okay, it will reduce the stress on the rocket structure by placing it quickly. Okay, placing the vehicle quickly in the atmosphere, and then relatively initially the velocity will be very less. While taking the vertical takeoff, while moving in this vertical segment, the velocity will be very low, which in case produces less amount of drag. So okay, that which in case put less stress on the structure of the rocket here. So finally, and also the angle of attack will be always 0 since it is going up vertically. The angle of attack also will be 0. However, this vertical segment without any angle of attack, it will not produce high amount of orbital velocity. Actually, what we want high amount of orbital velocity to clear the Earth's atmosphere, but it will not create that. Okay, and here the gravity losses associated with transporting most of the propellant tanks, okay, and so on to the higher altitude are large here. So the gravity loss will be more associated with the transportation of propellant tanks and other parts of the rocket here. So it will be very high for vertical flight. So now here our choice is what? One thing is we have to protect the rocket, or you lose the efficiency. If you want to get the efficiency, then you have to increase the velocity. Okay, so which will affect the structure of the rocket. Otherwise, if you want to protect the rocket, then the efficiency will go. Okay, we have to make any one choice here. So nowadays, the technology has improved or developed. The length of the vertical segment has tended to decrease, and with modern guidance, engineers can protect the rocket from aerodynamic stress. Okay, and take the advantage of increased efficiency of short vertical segment to larger payloads. So nowadays everything is developed now. Engineers are so smart. They're making the rocket initially to undergo very short span of or short distance of vertical segment, and then they can protect it from aerodynamic stresses. Okay, by using certain special guiding systems. Okay, so this is possible nowadays. So in a vertical segment, the drag will be rising with square of the velocity, and it limits the acceleration. Your vertical at the vertical segment takeoff, the acceleration will not be there. Okay, because of the drag which is created by the atmosphere. So anyhow, it will not reach the peak value in the vertical segment. So finally, what it will be, the velocity will be very less in vertical segment. If you make your rocket to go or launch for the more vertical distance, then relatively the velocity will be very less, which we don't want. That is because of densest atmosphere which is there in the lower surface of the Earth, or we can say the low sea level condition. We can say finally the sea level condition, densest atmosphere. Okay, here the atmosphere will be very dense and it will not help us to increase the acceleration, or it will limit the acceleration. But what we want more acceleration. Okay, so that we can gain more velocity. So that is the reason nowadays people are not going for longer vertical segment distances. So now next thing is gravity turn or transition trajectory. So now before that I will show you here in this video again. So now after what, yes, you can see here till here it is vertical segment is there. Okay, vertical takeoff is there. After this, what will happen? You can see it is changing its position. It is changing the angle of attack. So here the transition trajectory is happening, or gravity turn is happening. So you see that. So it is becoming, or reducing its angle of attack. You can see the path. Initially it was like this, then it has bent. So transition was happening there, or gravity turn was happening. See, this is how it is happening. So let us say vertically it is going off. Till here vertical segment will be there. After that gravity turn is taking. Okay. So transition trajectory is happening here. Like this. See, here transition is happening. Okay. So now here in modern days, the transition period or gravity turn will begins or will start as soon as the rocket departs from its vertical flight. As I said before, after crossing its vertical flight, the transition trajectory starts happening, or it begins actually. Fine. So now, whatever may be the precise nature of the trajectory, the nature of the trajectory, it will minimize the stress on the rocket by keeping the angle of attack close to zero. Here we will not, at the transition period, we will not reduce the angle of attack very low, but still it will be near to zero. It's not zero, but it will be near to zero, which will help us to keep our rocket safe. Okay, or minimize the stress on the rocket. So that will help us. So now, while the vehicle accelerates through the maximum dynamic pressure, by keeping the angle of attack close to zero, okay, the vehicle will accelerate through the maximum dynamic pressure zone. Through that pressure zone, it will accelerate. So here, the reduction in gravity loss from an inclined trajectory and the continuing reduction in mass means that the velocity gain is more rapid. In the transition period or transition trajectory, what is happening here is the gravity loss will be there because of inclined trajectory. So because of inclined trajectory, gravity loss will be there, as well as there will be less amount of mass here. The mass will reduce because some amount of fuel is burnt there while taking off vertically. So mass is reduced, which in case help us to increase the velocity immediately, or velocity gain will be here happening with a rapid case, or rapidly the velocity is gaining. Okay, so now transition period, what is happening here? In transition trajectory, we will not make the angle of attack very low, but still we will keep it in zero, almost equal to zero position, because to reduce or minimize the stress on the rocket. And next is here, the gravitation loss will happen, as well as the reduction of mass will take place, which will help us to gain the velocity in more rapid way. So now after this, the modern launchers, what we are using, they have advanced guidance and thrust vector controls. Okay, these are some equipments, components. So they have got advanced guidance and thrust vector control devices. Okay, which will maximize the efficiency of the rocket. So while increasing the efficiency, they can hold the thrust or limit the, sorry, they will not hold the thrust, they will hold the stress, so that it will, they can limit the stress on the rocket. Okay, and controllable thrust engine also can be used in space shuttles, especially for lower thrust as maximum dynamic pressure is encountered. Okay, that is one device. The controllable thrust engine can be used in the space shuttle. And then the advanced guidance programs are not strictly gravity turns, but the same principles will apply. See, whatever the advanced guidance programs are there, they are not strictly gravity turns, but the same principle will apply here. Okay, so after the vertical segment or vertical flight, whatever the transition is happening, that is purely called as transition region. Okay, the trajectory is called as transition region, and here the velocity is increasing rapidly, and also atmospheric density is still significant. Atmospheric density will not change, will remain almost same. It will be significantly, it is there, but still we have got increase in the velocity. So here our objective is what? To gain as much as velocity as possible, and at the same time we have to minimize the risk to the structural integrity of the spacecraft by active control of the angle of attack. Okay, and thrust. If you control the thrust and control the angle of attack, we can gain more velocity here, as well as we can limit the stress which is acting upon the rocket structure. Okay, so that it cannot destroy the structural integrity of the spacecraft. Here, thinking that to get into transition trajectory, we should not make the flight path too low or too flat to the ground. So it's not advisable, because it is important to rise above the region of the tangible atmosphere during this portion of the flight. If you make too flat or make horizontal to the ground, then it is very difficult to again go up. So that is the reason we are not supposed to make the flight path too flat here. Okay, because what we want to do, we have to rise above the region of the tangible atmosphere here. So during this portion of the flight. So this is about gravity turn or transition trajectory. And last one is constant pitch or the vacuum trajectory. So now, till here we have spoke about the vertical segment takeoff, or moving up in the vertical way, and after that we are getting into transition trajectory or getting into gravity turn. So after that what will come? Constant pitch or vacuum trajectory will come. So here we need to maintain, in third point we need to maintain the constant pitch. Initially it was angle of attack was 0, and transition region slightly it bent, is almost equal to 0, but it has bent slightly. And third point, here we need to fix certain amount of pitch, and we have to maintain that. So as soon as the atmosphere is sufficiently tenuous to allow the angle of attack to increase, the trajectory can be freely chosen to take full advantage of the rocket performance. So see, as soon as our atmosphere, whatever it is there, if it is slowly allowing us to change the angle of attack, then we can change the angle of attack or increase the angle of attack slowly, and carefully choose the what? Trajectory for the rocket here. So once our atmosphere is favorable, in favor of our rocket, then it will allow to increase the angle of attack, because as it starts moving, okay, after the transition period, transition region, it starts moving, what will happen? The atmosphere density will start reducing little bit. So then it will help us to increase the angle of attack. At that time, freely you can choose the trajectory path, whatever we want, as per the which will advantage the rocket performance. based on the rocket performance, which will be in favor of rocket performance, you choose the trajectory that time. Okay, when our atmosphere will slowly allow us to change it. But at this time, after choosing the trajectory, our aim is what? Our aim is to maximize the high velocity and reach the altitude, higher altitude. So after transition region or transition trajectory, our aim is to choose the trajectory path freely and accelerate the rocket to the highest value and reach the higher altitude. But here some constraints are there. What is the constraint? If you accelerate more, what will happen? It will create bad impact for payload or for the astronauts who are sitting in the rocket. They will face difficulties. So that also we need to take into account and go to the highest velocity whichever is possible. By that velocities or acceleration, other things should not get affected. Okay. So here the nature of the trajectory is very simple. It's very simple. That means it has got constant pitch flight. The pitching will not happen again and again here. In this case, it will remain constant. So here the objective is what? Here the main objective is we can burn the propellant as quickly as possible to get the speed. Here objective is just burn the propellant, whatever it is there, and get the acceleration. So don't stop burning the propellant. Okay, you burn it as soon as possible and quickly, so that finally it can reach the higher altitude or final orbital altitude it can reach. Okay, so after this finally you are going to put your rocket in the final orbit. So initially what was happening, the vertical segment, vertical takeoff will be there. After that transition trajectory will be there, or gravity turn will be there. So after that what we are doing, we are maintaining the constant pitch here. So we will wait for the atmosphere to come in favor of us. At that time we slowly increase the angle of attack and also increase the velocity and accelerate it. To do that, what we have to do, we have to burn the propellant continuously without any gap and quickly as possible, as much as early. So you burn that and keep maintaining the constant pitch and place your rocket in the higher orbital altitude where it is desired to go. You place there. So that is called as constant pitch or the vacuum trajectory. Okay. So this is about these three topics, like which are belongs to the Earth launch trajectories, typical Earth launch trajectories. Okay. So here with this we will conclude the class here, and with this also we have completed the all 5 units. If you just watch the video and study the material what is shared with you. Okay. If you have any doubt, you are always welcome to ask the question. Okay, ask your doubts and get it clear. So we will wind up everything here. Thank you.